Welcome to the NOCLIP Awards. I'm your host, Chad Rutherman.
I'm the co-star, Luma, Andy Kinnick.
And I am the actual host, JJ Artemis.
And today, we're back for another year of... What would you call what we do here?
A stupid award show.
Hell yeah. And by a stupid one, we mean clearly the best one.
Much better than the Game Awards.
Yeah, like all good things, it is decided by one person from the decisions of two people.
Yep.
The masses as a whole cannot be trusted with these kinds of decisions.
I agree. It is democracy in its purest form. It's more of a Republican thing, really.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever it is.
The people have spoken through Chad and Andy, who both represent the two halves of all people.
They channeled their opinions, like giving Goku your energy for the Spirit Bomb.
Correct.
Yeah. Before we start actually getting into the categories,
Yes.
I have a comment, a somber comment about life that needs to be said.
This is the place for that.
Great.
It's funny because like we're going into 2024, right? Like it's the end of this year.
Closer to death.
Closer to death, as always.
We're just marching towards it.
Everyone always says, like as you get older, time goes faster and faster. Like you start, the years just bleed away.
Yeah.
I've heard this many times, and I found it to be largely true.
Yep.
2023 was, for some reason, the longest fucking year of my entire life, and I didn't realize it fully until I was doing these awards and being like, I don't remember anything about some of these games. So if there's some factual inaccuracies in my nominations, that's my explanation.
I see. Okay.
Temporal anomaly.
This was all like most somber moments in award shows. They're really just a way to socially cover your ass from consequences.
Correct, exactly, yes.
Good.
Good.
Well, I'm here. I have once again been called down from the mountain of weird itch tabletop RPGs and Discord-based 90s diner/wizard theme LARP adventures to pass judgment on the lesser video games that I have left behind.
Yeah, video games as a whole are kind of an oafish art form to you.
You have ascended.
I have ascended, yes.
Shall we begin?
Yeah, and you'll now pass judgment.
I will now pass judgment. I will draw the award saber. Did we ever name the saber?
I like the award saber.
Yeah, that's what we named it.
It's definitely not
We're gaslighting everyone right now.
It's always been that, and you're wrong.
Yeah.
One thing you are not going to be wrong about, well, I guess one of you will be wrong about,
Categorically, yeah.
possibly, is what video game this year was perfect for the Switch.
The Perfect for the Switch Award is an all-time classic.
The all-time classic?
And one that one of us almost always screws up. I think we were good last year.
Yeah.
The nominees are Donkey Kong 64, but with a little E in the middle, so it looks like Donkey Kang. I just want to check that it's not Donkey Kang.
It is not Donkey Kong.
Cool,
I can't
all right.
confirm.
I'm not up to date on these video games anymore. If they could have introduced a Donkey Kang, I would never have known.
And also released a game called Donkey Kong 64.
Oh. And a very bold entry, Shadow of the Colossus.
Those are the games that are perfect for the Switch right there.
Well, I have to know, why Shadow of the Colossus? Why do you want that somber experience on the go?
That's just the theme of everything for me this year. No, I think it's not the on the go part. I feel like Shadow of the Colossus is the only game that I would describe as slow and plodding and meticulous, that I feel like works on the Switch because incidentally it also has little miniature like vignettes that you have to play through. So it is technically compartmentalized, even though it doesn't really need to be. Shadow of the Colossus is like if Hold on, this metaphor is going to be really good.
I
You have
wait
to
you.
bear with me.
Okay.
This Shadow of the Colossus on the Switch would be like if Francis Ford Coppola started releasing TikToks.
So bad?
I feel like it elevates a platform that doesn't necessarily need it, but would be funny to watch for a while. I've now mashed the metaphors in a way that makes it worse.
Yeah. Don't elaborate on that metaphor. Let us all complete it for you. Andy, why Donkey Kong 64?
So we got into this a little bit on the episode, but like it's Donkey Kong 64, and it's only available on the Wii U Virtual Console, which you don't have access to anymore, and the N64.
Yeah.
So like. And a lot, like we had problems with the N64. We went through 2 of them, and they didn't work. We couldn't play the game, or Chad couldn't anyway. I have the Wii U version because I'm a nerd that likes Donkey Kong. But yeah, it's like a classic Donkey Kong game, like one of Nintendo's flagship characters, and it's really hard to play. I think it just belongs on the Switch, either on the whatever they call it now,
The Nintendo Purchase Zone.
yeah, like on the N64 emulator thing they have, or like some kind of port or remaster or something. Like just really neglected piece of Donkey Kong history.
Like most.
For no reason, yeah. I feel like Nintendo just kind of likes to ignore it for some reason. And I say justice for Donkey Kong 64. Put it on the Switch.
I have never felt more like a millennial gamer than this exact moment, in which we are debating whether Donkey Kong 64 or Shadow of the Colossus should be brought with us on our commute.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Almost every other game that we talked about this year is just already on the Switch. Or like just could not possibly be on the Switch.
Okay, I respect the absolute requirement to keep this category from dying, even as the Nintendo Switch like arises to gaming dominance as it always should have and was destined to. I'm tempted to go with Andy, less because I ever want to play Donkey Kong 64 on my commute, than because the idea of sitting next to someone, looking over on their video screen, and watching like a horse die, would be like kind of like watching. It's like a less extreme version of catching someone watching pornography casually on the subway. Yeah, like it's not. There are just kind of questions that are implied deeper within there, and I would also really be worried about like pausing the game. You know, like when you're like hanging on for dear life at the limb of a great eagle of some sort.
Most people.
Like to get off the bus.
Yeah. Whereas with Donkey Kong 64, I feel like if you paused that game and then came back to it, your face, like there'd be no expectation for you to like suddenly like really be into the moment, right? Like you could continue to just have like a completely flat expression as you're holding the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, also when you pause it, it goes, okay. And it would be funny to be able to have that sound bite just ready to go at any point in time.
I didn't know that it did that.
Oh, yeah, I changed my answer. So Donkey Kong 64?
Yeah, that's 100% worthwhile. Especially, one of the like underrated elements of Perfect for the Switch is what games are the best for being the person who does not wear headphones in public, or like the max speaker kind of person that can make everyone else's day a little better.
That's one of the benefits of
you could also play the DK
categories
rap.
Is that you can slowly sort of build up more criteria and it becomes more rich and complex.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for revealing this new avenue of victory. Andy Kennick does win. The one and only time Donkey Kong 64
It's won anything.
Especially against Shadow of the Colossus, the most award-winningest of all video games. Next category. The least story... Let me just get my bifocals out because I'm such a fucking elder. Least scary horror-themed game.
A category I wish I had come up with a better name for.
So
the
really
not so spooky award.
Yeah, this is the Spook a Little award.
I guess it depends on what the intent of the category will be. An intent I will soon learn, as the entrants are Shadows Over Loathing and Chop Goblins. The fuck is Chop Goblins?
Chop Goblins is one of the greatest video games of all time. Chop Goblins is a game from the developer of Dusk.
Good.
That is like a similar like boomer shooter style game.
Ooh.
But it's very comedic in general. You have an arsenal of like an old flintlock pistol and like a machine gun that fires wooden stakes, and you kill goblins, the Chop Goblins, who run around and have really high-pitched voices and giant heads.
Incentivizing you to kill them and shoot their large heads.
Well, they came from another dimension, and they're going back in time and destroying history, is like the plot of the game.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's a very silly game, and one that I never felt afraid of even a little bit.
But you would still call it horror themed?
I think so. It's got Dracula in it. But Dracula sings like a funny song.
I mean, Hotel Transylvania also has Dracula in
and
it.
is horror themed. I rest my case.
I will not debate semantics with you any further.
Will you debate Shamanskis with me?
But potentially.
I get it.
This is not the time nor the place. Andy, Shadows Over Loathing.
Okay, so Shadows Over Loathing, obviously the sequel to West of Loathing, but it's like Lovecraftian horror themed, and as you would expect from if you've played West of Loathing or Kingdom of Loathing, it's not scary at all, and it's just funny, and at times feels like it even loses the thread that it's even supposed to be cosmically horror themed. So I think definitely horror themed and not scary at all. I also considered Chop Goblins, and while I think it does have goblins and a castle level with Dracula in it, I wouldn't really call it horror themed personally. You can be the judge of whether or not you agree or disagree with that. But I think Chop Goblins is more just like a goofy shooter and not horror themed, whereas I think Shadows Over Loathing is definitely has like Lovecraftian horror themes in it.
I see. How quickly did the Chop Goblins approach you by comparison? Is it like the goblin? Is it a swarm of sorts, or are the goblins like throwing poo? Like what is their method?
They chop you with like a machete.
They do have little machetes.
That seems pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, there's like any good shooter is gonna have a variety of Chop Goblin enemies.
Yeah.
There are goblins that throw machetes at you,
and
other ones that yell at you.
Also scary.
Yeah.
I don't like to be yelled at.
Yeah, and also I would like to enter into consideration Exhibit A.
Yes.
The Chop Goblins OST main theme. And by that I mean YouTube ad. Thanks.
Good.
Oh, that's not very scary.
Yeah, let's get that right in the Foley.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
If anything, this song is horror themed.
That I will agree. I would just flatly believe that was horror themed. It kind of seems like if like the Case of the Golden Idol made horror DLC, that's what that would sound like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with the bona fides out of the way.
The bona fides, it definitely qualifies for the category.
Yeah.
What you did not expect, and you really should be considering this with the categories, because you're not just playing for an award. You're trying to play for the award that I will give something. There's like a metagame element here.
I thought you were going to say you're also playing for your soul.
Yeah, you're actually playing for a cash prize this time.
Oh,
so
shit.
Surprise.
Don't spoil the twist. I'm very afraid of goblins, actually. I think goblins are an underrated horror device, just in general. There's been a very small number of media.
There are goblins in Shadows Over Loathing as well.
Right. I think we've gone too far toward the like cute, adorable goblin end of the spectrum, and there needs to be more forces in media returning to the like they're fucking cave creatures that are gonna eat you side of the spectrum.
That's fair, yeah.
So since I have all the power here, I'm gonna use my biases very explicitly, and once again, give the award to Andy. Also because I kind of just want to win, or not win. Well, I do want to win, but I now want to play Shadows over Loathing. And you've done.
I really thought you were going the other way with that. You were like, goblins are scary. Anyway, Andy, you win.
Yeah, well, it's the least scary.
Yeah,
okay,
scary.
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm afraid of goblins. That's what matters.
Right. I guess I just forgot what we were even doing.
Speaking.
So a good thing that I won.
We're recording this at like 2 a.m. after the bars close.
Yeah.
And he's like just not mentally present right now.
The next category. Do you want another read on that? Do you want another?
No, you're good.
Okay.
It's just one take. It's one take o'clock.
It is one. It is one take o'clock. And that means it's time for the next category. Best Ancient Artefact.
Yeah, this is so my story on this one is this is a category that we introduced last year and that I thought was very funny and wanted to bring back. And when Andy sent his suggestions for the things, he was like, I think we should cut Best Ancient Artifact. And I was like, no, I like it. And then when I went to actually make a thing for it, I was like, we should have cut this because as far as I'm concerned, there's only one answer. Interesting.
I do love this category. I love it already as I look upon the answers that you have
It was
submitted
hard to
me.
come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
Our first contestant, the manual from Tunic. Our second contestant. It just says Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, the Master Sword.
Ooh. Okay.
Being sent back in time and soaked in a dragon head.
It was soaked in a head. You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is pretty rad.
So I guess I never really conceptualized the Master Sword as an artifact before, but that really does feel like my failing. It is definitely an artifact, especially when it's no longer a sword for like a good chunk
when it's like
of the game.
broken kind of mossy sword.
Why do you think the Master Sword is so good as an artifact in the context of that game?
I think because when I was thinking about this, I was going through and I thought when I scrolled past Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, oh yeah, like the Master Sword got like sent back in time and has existed since like the near beginning of time in the Zelda universe and whatever. It is ancient and like it being like it's been cast into ruin several times, which makes it feel like an artifact. And yeah, like I feel like the act of like purifying it in Tears of the Kingdom is cool. And that's the one that jumped out at me when I scrolled over the list of games. So it I kind of recontextualized the sword in my head, and it seemed like significant and interesting when thinking about it through the lens of this category.
My heart is warmed by your love.
Aw.
Chad, talk to me more about the manual from Tunic.
Yeah, I think that 99.9 repeating % of the time, the Master Sword is the correct answer here because it is so iconic that it has in fact literally been used as an icon for the series that it is in. But I feel like the manual in Tunic goes above and beyond anything that I've ever seen done with like an in-game item. It is a collectible in the game that is extremely unassuming at first. Basically explaining to you what the buttons do in the game you're playing. It feels like an abstracted element, where the manual being in the game feels like a callback to sort of the more retro aesthetic that Tunic is going for. But as you progress through the game, not only does the manual take more importance on itself as a provider of hints and maps and things that you desperately need to be able to get through the game, but it becomes like the main focus of somebody going for the quote-unquote good ending of the game. Finishing it reveals the manual to not just be an item that is used in the game, but in fact like the Ruin Seeker's actual target, the knowledge to be gained in Tunic to then be given to the final boss, to spoilers for Tunic, by the way, to to create like a harmony over the world that has fallen into disaster. Like, it is an artifact that is both functional, an incredible selling point for the game itself. Like, it is great advertising as like an elevator pitch, and it is a narratively important device that evolves over time in the player's mind without being put up as like the MacGuffin, you know?
Mm-hmm. I have been swept away by the torrent of truth that you would just unleash upon me.
I just concede because I didn't think of the Tunic manual, and that's the right answer.
I agree. That's correct. So excellent work.
I didn't even need to spoil Tunic there.
Maybe you spoiled it a little bit, but that's fine. I guess you didn't say what it was, but yeah. The Master Sword, while a relic in universe, is rarely a relic to us. It is rather an omnipresent element of our culture. We are only there in that setting when the Master Sword needs to be acquired again. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and there's nothing to be really learned from it other than like, you should hit people with the cool glowing sword.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to learn other than that it's evil's bane, and you should plunge it into Ganon's head.
God, play Tunic. Bring Post-it notes with you. Just honestly use more Post-it notes in life, even if you don't play video games.
Speaking of,
yeah.
Here comes the mole. Or is that the Moleskin?
It is the Moleskin Award.
Hell yeah.
I have no fucking idea what this means. I'm really excited about it.
The description I gave for it was the game that made the player do the most journaling or like keeping track of stuff.
Oh, not like the game that like forced you to go running the most.
Correct. Yeah, I was thinking more Moleskin Notebook.
God,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's way cooler. You're so much cooler than me, Chad. Yeah, baby, you don't even have blisters on your ankles all the time.
Yeah, much cooler than running.
Yeah.
Running is like the most basic activity. I think we can all agree.
I guess it is just sort of using your body in the way it's intended, but like harder.
Mm-hmm. But when I see somebody running, I often think like, God, isn't there anything better that you could be doing with your time?
Yeah, that's also what I think.
Yeah.
The game of the year, not running.
Not running. Not once have we even thought about it. Running, no awards. The Moleskin Award nominees are Strange Horticulture and, once again, back-to-back, Tunic. What is Strange Horticulture?
It's like weird plant stuff. Strange Horticulture is a game that we did early in the year, for February, in fact. Just a note, unless we're doing some kind of insane called shot, which I don't think has ever happened, we don't know what the names of episodes are going to be prior to recording them, because they come from the episodes themselves. I'll only take this opportunity, now that Strange Horticulture has come up, to just apologize to Janelle, who suggested Strange Horticulture, for calling the episode Fart March. That was a dumb episode name.
I stand by it.
Thank you for this moment of vulnerability.
Yeah. But Strange Horticulture is a game where you essentially like collect plants.
Sick.
And then people come in and they ask for a cure for what ails them. Sometimes that is a literal ailment. Other times that is like a demon is haunting them. Mm-hmm. And you have to come up with the plant that's going to help them from your collection. And to identify the plants, you have to compare the physical specimen that you have with a book. And from that, you have to come up with names for the plants so that you have an easy reference for them. And it makes the player do all this, which I thought was an extremely cool sort of like deductive element to the gameplay. It's probably my favorite like mechanical part of the game. Mm-hmm. And while this game didn't make me actually write anything down in a notebook, which is sort of like what the impetus of this whole award idea was, right. It was a game that made me actually do a lot of logging. Like, I would be constantly updating plant names and labels and all of these things to try and get around it, and I thought it was very fun.
I like that. I like that pitch. I like logging just as an activity. Andy, I don't think you really need to go into too much detail about the Moleskin elements of Tunic, but I would love to hear about your personal Moleskin experiences.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought my notebook with me. Because, yeah, it's a game that, like, there's been plenty of games I've played where I've, like, made some notes, but it's the first one where I was like, okay, shift gears, this is now the game. Going through the manual and, like, drawing out the golden path to, like, open the door and, like, find all the fairies and shit. Like, there's multiple things you can do. Like, there's one of those whatever monoliths that you have to, like, find all the pieces of in the world and figure out how it fits together, and you have to, like, draw that out. And I just think it made me enthusiastic about doing that in a way like I don't think any other game has. So yeah, like I feel like it to me felt like the poster child for this award. Like it feels like the game that like not requires, because I guess the manual is technically optional, but like you'll want to do it. That feels like, like everyone's favorite part of the game is figuring that puzzle out. So yeah, I think it's just the presentation or the execution of it, like, just made it, like, fun to do in a way that, like, I personally haven't experienced before.
I agree wholeheartedly. And while I am, once again, just massively biased, of course, in favor of Tunic, I don't want that this award's victory to be taken as a slight against plants. I really, the plant community is very close to my heart, and I hope that we can maintain a good relationship after I hand this victory envelope to Andy Koenig.
Hell yeah.
As the representative of plants, I understand and accept your apology.
I feel like that was a good pick, though. I didn't think of Strange Horticulture.
I kind of thought that we were both going to put Signalis. And
that was my second choice. Yeah.
Signalis is a 100% second choice.
Yeah, silver medal.
Don't spoil it. I'm like literally mid Signalis.
Oh,
right
hell
now.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through it, I think.
We will not spoil it. Other than to say that we wrote things in a notebook. I don't know if that counts as a spoiler.
It merely excites me on a very deep level. Yeah. Speaking of things that excite me at a deep level, our next category is least likely to be compared to Dark Souls.
The other classic?
The other classic. Maybe the first category we ever came up with as a category, not just for this award, sir, but in our lives.
Yeah, sure.
Something we all think about on a daily basis.
Uh-huh.
Cavemen compared hunting mammoths to Dark Souls.
We're constantly just running away from the idea of thinking about Dark Souls. It's very good. The nominees are Super Mario Brothers Wonder and The Bunker. Strong contenders. I want to hear about The Bunker first in the ways that it is not like Dark Souls.
So, The Bunker is an FMV game where you play as a guy who, in fact, played one of the dwarves in The Hobbit.
Sick.
He is alone in a bunker and with his dying mother. At the first thing in that game that happens, his mom dies.
Uh-oh.
And then he breaks from this daily routine he has of
watching
just like
his mother die?
of eating baked beans while on the toilet. And I'm not joking. And he then explores the bunker and uncovers what happened there and escapes.
Okay. There is a lot of depression and death, I'm noticing.
That's fair.
Is there a lot of depression and death in Super Mario Brothers Wonder?
I would argue. I mean, there's like the typical Mario style of depression where Bowser does something and people are sad about it across the kingdom. Mm-hmm. But then after like a pretty brisk 10-ish hours of fun platforming gameplay with psychedelic interludes, they all are fine again. So, no, I would argue not a lot of depression and death.
Yeah, understandable. Also, things being fixed forever, very unlike Dark Souls.
Pretty unlike I mean,
There is a cyclical nature of Bowser always kidnapping Peach again.
That is true,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, I'll give
Yeah.
you that.
And with that, we enter our combo round, as this is one of the most contentious of all categories. Chad, how is the bunker like Dark Souls?
You bring it up. You bring up that the game is depressing and that it deals with death and sadness a lot.
It
But
is easy and requires no effort, though. I'll just say that.
that's true.
Real
So
quick.
neither does Mario Wonder. It in fact has many different ways to make the difficulty even easier than the default. But the bunker, though, I'm going to attack it from a slightly different angle because I also considered the bunker and had to do this exercise already.
Yeah, it's like a chessboard in your head of games that are similar to Dark Souls.
Yeah, no, this has become this is a very meta award at this point. What I think about the bunker and the reason why I think that the bunker can be, in fact, compared to Dark Souls is that the game, it has sort of an archaeological element to it.
Right.
You aren't, because the game gives you no choice in what you do.
Right.
No
But
exploration.
The narrative of it is exploring a destroyed civilization, essentially. There were human beings who lived in this bunker, and due to your mother's refusal to allow you've never gone into the lower floors since the accident where the radiation killed everyone. And so there's just this element of your character having to go through a ruined world and sort of pick apart what happened based on memories and logs that you find. So
Solid advantage to Chad on this one. Do you have a rebound?
My only things when I thought about Mario Wonder were that it is hard in spots and it has skeletons in it.
the skeletons were a death knell on the previous year, so their dry bones are in the game.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Dry bones are very skeletal. That
Point for Andy.
I'm willing to concede here because Chad could have brought up the fact that there's a scene with ghosts in it in the bunker. I think the pile of evidence is larger against the bunker.
I respect you for submitting and committing similar to Dark Souls seppuku on this day.
Should have picked Jazz Punk.
Should have picked Jazz Punk.
I
But
consider Jazz Punk
Yeah.
also.
too late for that. Point to my main man, Chad.
Wahoo.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Speaking of men, another man's treasure. What does that mean?
It's our trash. It's
What? Our as in like I love it, or our as in like I gotta figure out what to do with this?
We assume that these collectibles that we are going to describe in the game or in this category are somebody's treasure because they aren't ours.
Yeah, the worst collectibles.
Yeah.
Got it.
This was also just really hard for me to pick, and I think it's because I was too focused on trying to make a statement here.
And the statement you decided to make was Resident Evil 4 plus R?
8.
4 plus 8?
But we did both Resident Evil 4 and 8, and both of them have this bad collectible.
I see. Okay, I didn't think they were on 12.
Also,
Yeah.
I wrote-
Resident Evil 4 plus 8 final chapter prologue.
Also, I don't know. I for some reason put 4. Oh wait, no, it isn't. Yeah, I put 4 lines on the E in evil, and I don't know how or why.
Because
that
it's Resident
happened.
Evil 4.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Thank you for calling out your own terrible penmanship. You were first referring to the challenge points that are present in both. I can't wait, as someone who started playing both of those games and then stopped, to hear more about what these points are like. And a strong contender as our second uppercomer for Rascal. Because it has been too long, I would like to talk about Rascal. I really remember Rascal.
So Rascal feels like it has like most things in the game, like not even half implemented collectibles, where you have the hourglass pieces, and then is it the keys? Keys, yeah. It's hard to remember. They're so bad. And like there's like no consistency as like to like how they're hidden, like what kind of challenges to do to get them. Like you have to get all 4 hourglass pieces to finish the level, which can be a huge middle finger if you complete the Herculean effort of getting to the end of the level and you don't have them all. Like sometimes one will just be hidden in an enemy. Other times there will be one where you have to shoot a statue. Like there's no logic. On top of the already like frustrating game, it's just like that old, like bad old game element of it that just like makes it like feel so obtuse. And any chance you had of getting into it is kind of dashed.
That is a very understandable Rascal experience to me. Chad, tell me about these challenge points, which sounds like a thing that you would care about.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem. I talked about this on the Resident Evil 8 episode, not on 4, because we did it as a pocket, and obviously I have a lot of important things I have to say about Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
But in the remake of Resident Evil 4 and in Resident Evil 8, and in fact I think in Resident Evil 7 as well, there's this thing called the Challenge Shop. And the Challenge Shop sits outside of the game as part of the main menu and is just a list of shit that you can unlock by spending challenge points, which you get by doing specific actions in-game.
Okay.
Some of these are really common, like achievement style things. Beat the game on normal mode, that kind of stuff. But my issue comes in the form of things that are like, hit 10 enemies with an egg. And it's like, I feel like the game, because the challenge point's on the main menu, and because it puts it so much in your face, like anytime that you load the game, it's just like, you did all this dumb shit the last time you played the game. Congratulations on finding a Salazar statue.
Sick.
Yeah. That I think it kind of ruins the first time experience of playing the game. It's a thing that I like in the abstract, if it was actually abstract, but it's not. It's like right in your face. And I found it to be bothersome. I wish that my first time playing through the games, I could just do the things that I wanted to do. And I can, but it's nagging in the back of your head. You're like, what if I want to unlock the fucking cat ears for Leon?
Yeah. What if you want to unlock some fucking cat ears for Leon?
Yeah, and so now I'm thinking about, like, how many Magnum headshots I have to land, or, like, et cetera, and it just, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way, and I don't like it.
I understand. I think I'm going to wield the power vested in my holy judicial scepter to kind of define the intent of this category slightly retroactively.
Yeah, sure.
Because there is, not that I needed your permission, but thank you for the
I mean, I didn't come up with a category, but no, you're right. You have the right.
I do have the scepter.
You got the scepter.
I got the scepter. I find this category more compelling if it is an evaluation of things that you specifically hate, that would be hated by you but loved potentially by other weird people, so that you have the opportunity not just to talk about video games, but to kind of implicitly talk about other people in your life who are different than you. And I don't know if there's enough interpersonal connection sometimes within the NOCLIP podcast. So I'm struggling to imagine the kind of person who would play Rascal.
Period.
And really want to kind of go out there and have like a great experience collecting all those little fucking statue bits and people pieces.
I mean, I don't think that person exists.
Well, I think you're underselling it. I think that JJ never had that experience as somebody who didn't grow up as like a platformer fan.
Yep.
But I think that you sort of have that experience, like as a child.
But not in Rascal, though.
Well, in Donkey Kong 64.
But some people probably played Rascal and enjoyed it when they were small children.
Yeah.
I can imagine that person.
Call in if you were that person. Man, would we long form interviews await if you are the Rascal lover of choice. But with that standing offer established, I am in the short term until we acquire proof that person
Yeah.
has yet been born. That I'm giving the point to Chad, tying us up 3-3. I think. Right. You do have 3 points, right, Andy?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you have 3 points.
Thanks.
This is me giving you a secret. We gotta collude. Get this
Okay.
through. Gotta win.
It would help if you didn't change the criteria of the category. That would help me win.
That is true, yeah. Also, I had considered,
No, yeah, I definitely would have picked a different game.
yeah, I considered giving this to like bananas or some shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I had done that, that whole conversation doesn't happen.
I'll keep this in mind as I change the categories retroactively in the future. Speaking of instruments of change, our next category is the Teased Brain Award.
Just most satisfying puzzle.
Woo-hoo. Can feel the icy tingle of thought.
I will say that
Me too,
my
yeah.
answer is not great.
Don't put yourself down. You've got to really get every advantage that you can muster while I'm trying to collude with Andy to make him win.
It's worked so well.
Yeah,
up until last year. I fucking Katniss Everdeen my way into the victory.
Into the rafters.
Into the
rafters.
rafters, yeah.
Oh, thank you for making me think about Katniss Everdeen again. Those neurons were dying and they needed some water a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta rejuice them.
Some thought juice, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of thought juice,
Uh-huh.
the first nominee for the Teased Braid Award is Braid's World 6 ring mechanic,
Yes.
which I do remember
I'm glad.
somehow. It's been many
Those neurons have been watered recently, or at least recently enough.
Yeah. They were watered enough at the time, and now they're thick oaks up there.
The redwood of synapses.
The redwood of synapses, yes. Our second contender, The Fall.
Sorry, I was gonna start talking, and then you like looked at Andy, and I was like, maybe it's Andy's turn to go first.
It is Andy's turn to go first. I wanted the weight of The Fall
Oh,
to
good.
set in.
So I picked The Fall because we did it recently. It's kind of like a cinematic platformer-y, like, adventure game, kind of like a point-and-click adventure game, but you don't point and click. You play as, like, an astronaut has like fallen to a planet and is like unconscious, and you play the AI of the suit puppeting his body around trying to like get him medical assistance.
Sick.
Yeah, very cool setup, but like it's made like in such a way that like I feel like the pacing and the difficulty curve of the puzzles is like one of the most satisfying and smooth that I've ever played. Like it has these puzzles that like ramp up in difficulty, but like I never hit that wall of like I have no fucking idea what to do. Like I found like it had like text logs and stuff that like explained things about the world, but they were never too long. And I actually found myself reading them all and not skimming and actually retaining it. And it's actually like used in puzzles. Like there's this whole section with this like slug mother, like brood mother giant slug.
Oh hell yeah.
And there's like this whole section of the map like that's like 3 floors, and like you have to like get information from the break room about like how to kill her, and like it's so natural, like you like remember like what you're supposed to do as soon as you come across the components, you know where to go and what to do with it in a way that like just felt like, because like it could be moon logic-y, like, right, you know, there's no like everyday logic to killing a slug mother, but like I like immediately like intuited like what to do, and it just like felt really smooth and good. So I picked The Fall for best puzzle design here.
I know this strange astronaut man. I've seen photographs of him places, and I love the font that they picked for the title.
Nice.
Chad.
Bonus points.
Nice. So I went Braid. Braid is kind of the opposite of that. I think that Braid is a game that has a very jagged difficulty curve.
Yep.
It just sort of kind of picks and chooses where it wants to be hard. And when it's hard, it's extremely hard and can be frustrating. But I think that specifically the ring mechanic, where as Tim, you can throw the ring down and it will change the way that things interact with the flow of time was 100% satisfying the whole way through that stage. Like, it's one of my favorite puzzle mechanics, and it's coming from a game that has influenced the very existence of puzzle games over the last however many years, like 10, 15 years at this point. It's like the one thing that I feel like has not been done better than it was in the original context. And just something I liked a lot, so it teased my brain.
I agree. There's
also, I'm pandering.
You gotta get better at your pandering. I have shifted a little bit, but you could have. There was so much more room for you to pull me in that direction. I really am teetering on the edge of this one. Tried to consider the distinction between whether or not a mechanic, right? Where you're talking about a system that has very gradual effects on the world, or like where those, it's not like an on-off switch, right? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily a logic test or a puzzle in the same way that the fall would be, but it does definitely require very intense forethought. I'm struggling with whether or not that counts as the same type of brain itch, the same thing that you feel when you're playing the Case of the Golden Idol or Tunic, and you're mapping out all of the relationships between these concepts.
I think that Braids, in terms of being a puzzle game, I think that Braid is almost more, I agree, it is more action focused, essentially. Like, there's still execution in Braid.
Yes.
But I think that, because I am talking about a specific mechanic within the game, like, I think that, I said my answer was bad. That's kind of the reason that I think it is bad, is that I'm choosing I'm cherry picking a specific part of the game that I think is emblematic of why I like it. But at the same time, I would call it a puzzle. I would call it a brain teaser, in that there were some of these screens that I stared at for like minutes on end,
right,
to try and get an actual like idea of what I was supposed to be doing.
Right. I agree that thought is absolutely required and mechanics of a certain level of complexity. But unfortunately, I have just tricked you into admitting that your answer was bad, which gives me the only excuse that I need to award this point to Andy.
I will accept it.
Well, to play the fall, I didn't realize that there was a dead man or dying man in the astronauts. That's so cool.
It is a very cool concept.
I love,
and it's a nice brisk experience. Like, it's a good time.
I love briskness.
Samesies.
I love brisk iced tea.
Yeah.
I
think we can all agree.
Speaking of experiences that are brisk, the next category is Smashiest Balls.
Nice.
Everyone's favorite category. No explanation required.
No explanation required.
Yeah, your imagination is what makes this category good.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Let's see if it will carry you to victory today. The contestants are Cursed to Golf. Oh, and Cursed to Golf.
Yeah.
Wow! Victory. Talk about Cursed to Golf. It deserves it.
Yeah. So Cursed to Golf is a game that I think we both felt the effects of this category in. And I think what we're probably both getting at is that this works on multiple levels.
Yeah.
It is a ball-crushingly hard game. And in addition to that, it is a game about golf.
Yep, you're teeing up a lot of balls to hit with that driver.
And because of how hard the game is, those balls end up getting crushed even more than they would in a typical golf game.
Yeah. It's like ball granola.
It is essentially a ball granola.
It is like ball granola, yes. That's the most true statement I've heard today.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
All right.
Thank you for joining together in the search for truth.
Is that the first
tie this year?
First tie for the Smashiest Balls category?
I don't think so.
Oh, Super Monkey Ball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one also tied.
We'll have to consult the scribes.
Yeah.
I wish I had fucking scribes.
Nah, boo boo. We have scribes, more scribes than you do.
There's definitely a joke in there about attempting to use subscribers as actual scribes.
We don't have subscribers. We have scribers.
Yeah, please, from here on out, you know, people like
comment, and scribe.
It's like Taylor Swift has like Swifties. Our fans are called scribes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Excellent. The next category. So we enter the home stretch.
We need to be entering into due to the length of the episode and the time of day.
Hell
Yep.
yeah. Game best experienced twice.
Oh, I did not realize how far into the list we were.
Yeah,
actually.
we got 3 left, I think.
Hell yeah.
After this.
Like, this was definitely one where if we like workshop this for some time, we could get a sick title.
Oh yeah, this is one that I most wish that I'd come up with a better name for.
Uh-huh. The contestants are Signalis
Oh no!
and Signalis.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another tie.
yet another
2 ties
tie.
in a row.
2 ties in a row. No discussion allowed. Only victory. I'm not even done with Signalis, and I already agree with both of you.
Yeah.
There is no puzzle to motivate it, I have begun a phone journal of like concepts and just like lore building.
That's a good idea. You might not have to play it twice if you do that.
Yeah, possibly. Well, I don't know. So, but the reasoning behind it, just very quickly, because we talked about this on the episode. This is a rehash. Is essentially that the game, as you play through the game, I feel like you get so much more context, and the narrative itself is both difficult to understand at face value, and also has complicated concepts like you were making a journal to cover. And so I feel like just playing the game multiple times, much more so than multiple endings, which it does technically
You'd be
have.
Keen to all of it from the beginning if you played it again.
It would help recontextualize and make things, I think, a more enjoyable narrative experience.
I agree.
All right, unanimous.
Wonderful.
Even with the host, which is rare.
Yeah.
Well, we're all in perfect harmony.
The rare 3-way.
Nice. 3 men in a bed.
3 men in a bed.
I guess 3 men near a bed.
Yeah.
Which we kind of do have 3 men near a bed energy, I would
Yeah.
say, on this podcast.
You decide what that means, listener.
Today, the scepter is yours. Our next category. Best soundtrack. Is that your submission?
No.
Okay. Just had to like double check, you know. I love touching envelopes.
He's going to change the category to be sound. Your submission becomes the sound you make whenever.
Ooh! This is gonna be a spicy one. Our first contestant, Kingdom Hearts.
All right. I wonder who chose that one.
Our second contestant, RimWorld.
I suspected that there would be.
I knew this is what you were going to pick.
Yeah. I felt like that we definitely were on each other's wavelengths here.
Let the blood flow.
I think that Kingdom Hearts soundtrack is pretty good.
All right, that settles it.
I'm not going to argue that it's bad or anything. I don't think this is an offensive category for me. I think that RimWorld soundtrack just... I literally... This was one of the easiest ones for me to settle on because I knew already that like any other time that we've done the soundtrack award. If I'm listening to a game soundtrack extracurricularly,
right,
that's already like definitely is going to be there. And while I do have Simple and Clean on rotation on my phone,
nice.
I don't really consider that. I mean, I do consider it to be part of the soundtrack. Kingdom Hearts gets its flowers for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not out here listening to it, the rest of it, like on my own time. RimWorld soundtrack is so emblematic of the game. It fits so perfectly. And in a way that is almost kind of unexpected, because when you hear somebody talk about RimWorld, they're usually telling you a very violent horrible story, or maybe potentially like a slow touching moment. But the music itself is so relaxed in comparison. And it ends up fitting really well because of the very lo-fi aesthetic of the game. Plus, it just has that cool, modern, like, sci-fi bluegrass feel to it, which is like a weird trend.
I do love modern sci-fi bluegrass.
Yeah.
I
It's just good stuff.
also love Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to win here.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to win here. Andy, tell me why I'm about to pick Kingdom Hearts as the winner.
Okay, so Kingdom Hearts, the composer is Yoko Shimomura, who is my personal favorite, like, working composer in video games today. And I think Kingdom Hearts is her strongest work still, personally, because, like, I can't imagine, like, acing an assignment more than she did, like, composing the soundtrack for this game. Like, it has to, like, feel authentically Disney and contribute to, like, what makes it feel Disney. Which is a tall order on the PS2. So I think the soundtrack's doing a lot of heavy lifting. She's doing original themes that, like, fit these movies. And, like, I personally find that, like, every song is like an earworm in the positive way. Like, they're all memorable. Like, I can think of a world and I know exactly how, like, the theme sounds, whereas, like, later Kingdom Hearts games, it's, like, less so. Not to dunk on later Kingdom Hearts games, but, you know, you got to get those digs in when you can. Like, I just feel like she has that, like, ability that, like, older composers like Koji Kondo had, where they had to, like, focus on those melodies, and that was what makes, like, old video game music, like, memorable and good. But she took that, like, in, like, the second or third generation, however you want to look at the PS2 era, and, like, really moved it steps forward, I think. Like, more complex orchestrations, and, like, I think the pressure of, like, the having to make stuff that fits with the Disney feel really, like, I think it puts it up there. It's, like, one of the better soundtracks to come out of Square Enix, a studio known for how good their music is in their games. So I think it's one of the all-time great soundtracks. And I hate that it's not on vinyl.
I agree. It's not on vinyl?
Nope.
We should correct that. We should correct that immediately. We should create a limited issue printing.
Yeah. Square Enix copyright holders, forget that you heard that.
The victory. I know I announced it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But in case the audience was worried that I was joking, highly not joking. Highly not joking. The winner is Andy. Andy's now got a solid 2 envelope lead.
Well, I thought it was a 1 envelope lead.
Not anymore.
I got 5.
Shit.
Which means you're gonna have to back win.
Incorrect. I lose.
The last one is Game of the Year, which isn't a competitive category.
Oh.
We should have announced it the previous time.
We should have announced it the previous time. How does it feel to already lose, Chad, while I open the last category?
As somebody who has won once out of the 5 times that we've done this, pretty normal. I go out speaking my truth.
You do.
Except for that one time I lied.
Words to live by. God.
Yeah, speak my truth, and you can't prove otherwise.
Speak my truth, eat hot chip, and lie.
Amen.
Our second to last category of the evening, the Newlywed Game.
Where we each try to pick each other's least favorite game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I guess we'll go one at a time.
We will.
Yeah.
Andy's selection for Chad.
I will say that there were some difficult categories this year. This was the hardest one, and when I say that, I mean picking mine.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was very hard to pick yours this year.
You have a difficult time, and I kind of want to give you free points if you get one of the 3 that I narrowed it down to.
Oh, God. See, you don't have a final answer.
I do, and it's in my pocket, and I can display it depending on what happens here. Mm-hmm. But I waffled, literally on the paper. It scratched out multiple times because I couldn't decide.
Did you land on Sacrifice?
Oh, that wasn't even one of my 3.
Yeah, I was between a couple. I can pull up my phone to see which ones they were. But I went back and listened to a couple of them, and I was like, yeah, Sacrifice were really low energy, and we're just like, we don't really like this, like the whole episode. So I was like, that has to be it. I'm not going to think too much harder about it than that.
No, I honestly, I don't even think... I wasn't even really thinking about it as much.
Yeah, I put Sacrifice, Mario 64, Curse to Golf, and Child of Light.
Okay. Child of Light was... The one that I actually wrote down was The Bunker.
Oh.
So let me actually explain.
Man, I never would have picked that one.
Yeah. Let me actually explain like what my thought process was, because I feel like what I did was I went back and I listened to the final thoughts specifically on episodes for both of us to see if I could pick out ones both for you and me. And I felt like I was hesitant to be as negative as I normally would have been on several of the episodes
That's what makes it hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there are games that, like, when I think I struggled with this last year, too, and I was like, there are games I feel like Chad really didn't like, but then when I listen to the episode, he's, like, pretty positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that I had the balls to come on here and just be like, Mario 64 was the worst game I played this year. Like, that would have been very funny to me, but I don't have those balls because I don't feel that badly about the game.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong 64 also crossed my mind because I was like, Donkey Kong 64 is a game that I had the most frustrating experience with.
Yeah.
And Child of Light was a game that I just felt like so bored by.
Yeah, that was my runner-up,
had really
I think.
cool things in it.
Right.
And the reason I went with The Bunker in the end is basically The Bunker was a game that had potential that I wanted to like, but ended up being kind of a big nothing. Like, it had the Diarrhea Wednesday joke, which was funny, and the acting and the production value is all very good, but it all amounts to kind of an unmemorable, like, cheap movie scenario. It was a game that I wanted to be more and didn't get it. So I honestly would give you a point here. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you've already won.
Yeah.
But I would give you a point just because I felt like this year had several games that I was disappointed in, but none that I had a visceral reaction to.
Good. I'm glad that you're gaining mastery over your feelings.
I mean, it's bad content. I need to hate more.
All right.
Podcasting is a Sith activity.
It really is.
Now, Chad's guess for Andy's least favorite game of the year is Ghost Runner.
Yeah, big softball. I did not like Ghost Runner at all.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of hard that is just like not fun at all, in my opinion.
That's fair. And also, like, I did enjoy the game a good bit, but I listened back because I recognized immediately, like, Ghost Runner is a game that I don't think Andy liked very much. And I went back to listen to a few things because I remember us being negative all the way back at the beginning on Hidden Folks.
Oh,
and I
God,
went back,
yeah.
And you start that final thoughts with being like, this was fun. And I was like, right, we did this because of Andy's penchant.
That's not a bad thought, though.
Yeah.
I was disappointed by Hidden Fox.
Yeah. But obviously it wasn't a game that also did not give you a viscerally negative reaction.
Yeah. But I think that's the first time I got Newlywed wrong.
It is. It's first
we have to get
any of us.
Yeah, we have to get divorced now.
Yeah.
No, I think the first year you got mine wrong.
Oh yeah,
you
right,
guessed Nanotale or
Once
something.
again,
anyway,
Scribe activity that we
Oh yeah. So Scribes.
Scribes.
Consult the Scribes. All right, game of the year.
Game of the year.
Andy gets to go first as the victor.
As the victor.
Also, Andy's name is now Victor.
Andy Victor Kinnick.
Mr. Victor. Only one sheet of paper in my hand. It's buried in the envelope like a secret little guy.
It is a secret little guy.
Oh, an unsurprising selection, but a selection I always love hearing you talk about.
He goes first.
Oh, you're right. It's just your piece of paper was so big.
My piece of paper is giant.
It is dominant.
It's very big. Andy as Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Tunic and the way that it made you feel.
Yeah, I feel like it's the obvious choice if you know me at all from this year. Yeah, Tunic is just one of those indie games, like, put it up there in the pantheon with, like, the Undertales, the Hollow Knights, you know, like the one that's, like, the breakout hit. And it's especially, like, one that caters to me being, like, a Zelda Dark Souls kind of mashup. Very similar to, I think, the kind of game I would want to make if I made a game. It's got an amazing soundtrack. It was one of my runners up for soundtrack. Like, I think it hits that like lo-fi sound without being too droning or boring. Like, it's still got like a catchy melody going on that keeps you engaged in it and doesn't just like become like a film score where it's very in the background. So yeah, and it looks very cute. I love the angular little bushes, great art style. And just, yeah, like Galaxy Brain puzzle design, like the Tunic manual is just one of the coolest things from games in the past several years, I think. So yeah, just a very standout cool game that didn't disappoint. I was looking forward to it ever since I heard about it, and liked it a lot.
Dude, if I had to pick one game that is emblematic of how I view your tastes, it would be Tunic. I don't know if RimWorld, Chad's selection, is emblematic of your tastes. But then again, the thing that is emblematic of your tastes to me is often how much of an internal mystery you are, and how much I feel like your soul is always like just out of reach to me in a way that allows you to constantly be surprising.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that we had Tunic is such a good pick for Game of the Year, and like would have been mine if RimWorld did not exist. Which is there are parts of my life that'd be better if RimWorld didn't exist, such as my ability to sleep. Because it just fucking ate my life for a long time. There are so many. There were games this year. Just as a shout out, like Perfect Tides is probably my like runner up after Tunic, and RimWorld, because that's a game that I actually like talked about last year to people. Like, people would ask me like recommendations for games and be like, Perfect Tides affected me emotionally in a way that I was not expecting. But that's the game I talked about. RimWorld is a game that I didn't shut up about. RimWorld is a game that just, like, it looks simple. It controls like Microsoft Excel.
Yep.
It is, for some reason, a life-ruining time eater. And I spent so much time with it and enjoyed it so much that I've played through it many, many times. I've started a million different colonies. I've done a bunch of themes. I've now modded the game, but only in one very stupid way. It is like just one of those games for me that I really enjoyed. And it is a game that has definitely gotten itself into my top 10 for the time being. And Tunic is definitely a top 50 game for me, probably pretty high up on it, but it is not the RimWorld made me reorganize thoughts, and that's a big step for me.
It is.
And if you also like RimWorld a lot, talk to Chad about it on the Discord, because part of the point of the podcast was like, if you play a game and really love it and have no one to talk about it with, it's supposed to be an outlet for it. And I didn't like RimWorld that much.
Yeah. I, in fact, considered it for least favorite game for you.
Oh, no, definitely not.
It was like RimWorld Vampire Survivors. Of
yeah, like, with me, like, I'm very a positive person. So, like, if I find a game very interesting, I'm probably not going to put it as my least favorite.
Yeah.
I await the day in which you can ferry me into RimWorld Mania, because I did definitely bounce off the Microsoft Excel elements of it pretty hard.
Yeah, it's kind of like Monster Hunter in the sense, like, if you have a friend to like get you over that hump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because in fact, the same thing happened with me. With you tried to get me into one of the DS Monster Hunters.
Yeah, it was for you.
And it like barely worked at all. But World just got me right in there all the way.
Yeah. Monster Hunter World, a game that I chose.
Game of the Year.
It was. I chose Monster Hunter World's Game of the Year the first time that we did the NOCLIP Awards. And essentially that is why. Because you did not need a Brady Games guide to fucking play it.
Excellent. And with that sweltering aura of positivity, it has reconstituted the magic that binds the seal of the award scepter in place. It is resealed once again, awaiting for me and only me to break its powerful magics in the year to come.
Yeah, that's the best ancient artifact right there.
But next year for Coolest Ancient Artefact, we just pick the
letter opener saber.
And yeah, with the sword sealed once more, awaiting its true master and its time-locked freshness in the awards next year, so that it may draw more blood from envelopes. We thank you, the listener, for listening to NoClip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, as we discussed literally right before this, the perfect game to emblemize the start of a fresh new year, Cocoon.
From one of the developers of Inside.
When I think of the holidays, I think
of being birthed anew from a cocoon into a new year.
I think of my entire sense of self being dissolved in a vat of my own creation.
Yep.
So that I can return to all of you in a beautiful new form.
Or a horrible new form. We'll find out. Until that time, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com, where you can find our email address, our Twitter account, the Discord server, where you better you fuckers better submit suggestions for February, which is coming up.
February.
I've got some backlogs in there. You.
Oh yeah, no,
you've already submitted a couple, haven't you?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I've got a few on the list. This is not a dire situation. I just like overstating the importance of the February submission. If you want to listen to us talk about a game that you suggest, please send in your submissions.
And you can just send them in at any time.
Yeah, or just whatever.
Yeah.
And just like earmark it February.
Yeah.
But you can then go to fucking YouTube, which got all of our old episodes, including the NoClip Awards from the previous 4 years.
Yep.
Yeah. You can be a NoClip Award Scribe if you mark down what each of us voted for every category.
You can do what people do with the Oscars and go back and listen to all the episodes that we picked for our winners.
Or, actually play the game.
Yeah. No, that's not allowed.
No, don't do that. Especially when we choose a game because it is bad. Like, do not go play Rascal.
Or
do play Rascal.
It costs like, what, 1 cent?
Yeah, a penny. So it'll be fine.
That'll be fine.
Hit the subscribe button.
Like and comment and subscribe right now. Another year in the books.
I like knowing.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't necessarily change my behavior.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
I don't agree.
Chad, ignorance is strength, Rutherman.
This is an anti-intellectual podcast.
This is an anti-intellectual
non-philosophical content.
I feel like
for gamers.
that's going on the end card right there. A non-intellectual podcast.
That's us.
That is us.